This is going to be an in-depth video about Manga Deku. Not only am I going to power scale him, but I'm also going to talk about the abilities he's unlocked in the manga, as well as the total personality change he's had since the beginning of the series up until chapter 308. Obviously, there are going to be major manga spoilers in this video, so if you do not want to hear them, please click off this video. But I'm assuming you clicked on the video because you read the title, meaning you probably don't really care about spoilers anyways. First things first, I'm going to go over all of his different quirks that he's unlocked in the manga. Firstly, we already know about the stockpiling ability of One for All. That's the first one we were introduced to in the beginning of the series. As the name implies, with each generation, it stockpiles the power that the prior user accumulated in their lifetime, therefore making the next successor a lot stronger than the last user. The next quirk that we were introduced to within One for All was Black Whip. It creates multiple large black tendrils that each individually are strong enough to pick up cars. And based off what we've seen in the manga, Deku could realistically make about 10 of them, one for each finger on both of his hands. And each one has an approximate range of about 5 to 10 feet. The next ability that Deku unlocked was the Float quirk. This quirk was owned by All Might's mentor, Nana Shimura. Basically, this quirk allows Deku to fly. There really isn't much else to add for this quirk, it's pretty self-explanatory. The next quirk that we were introduced to is called Danger Sense. It works similarly to the Spider Sense of Spider-Man from Marvel Comics. It warns you of incoming danger even if you yourself cannot see the danger incoming. And now, in the leaks of the most recent chapter, we were introduced to the 5th quirk that Deku's unlocked. This quirk belongs to the 6th user, and it is simply called Smokescreen. As the name implies, it allows Deku to make a smokescreen around him to impair the vision of his opponents. But it also has an added bonus. Deku himself can see perfectly through that smokescreen. So far, Deku's unlocked 5 quirks, and based off the fact that he's the 9th user, and him and All Might didn't have a quirk, that means he can unlock a total of 7 quirks in his lifetime. Meaning, despite how powerful Deku is now, he still has 2 more powers that he has yet to unlock. Which now leads into the next subject. Exactly how powerful is current Deku? I tend to scale him based off of Endeavor and Manga Shigaraki. As we saw in the Season 4 finale, Endeavor is casually capable of destroying buildings. And those same exact attacks were completely shrugged off by Shigaraki. Even when Aizawa had his quirks disabled, Shigaraki still easily overpowered Endeavor. And Shigaraki, with the help of his quirk, completely destroyed an entire city. But without his quirk, he was destroying multiple buildings, possibly even full city blocks with a wave of his hand. And despite how powerful he was, Deku still beat him. Meaning a lowball Deku is easily around city level. But now, if we factor in the second movie, where both Deku and Bakugo ended up dispersing a thunderstorm, you could easily bring Deku's scale all the way up to island level. Possibly multiple times island level if you factor in all the other quirks on top of that. Because that island level statement that I said was performed with just One for All strength. Meaning Deku at his absolute strongest right now could be almost country level. Plus another way to prove just how powerful Deku is, when he had his rematch against Muscular in the latest manga chapter, Deku one-shot Muscular. And based off of what we saw Muscular do during the training camp arc, Muscular would easily be around mountain level. So current Deku was capable of one-shotting a mountain-level opponent. Now sure, compared to other anime characters in different franchises, mountain level doesn't seem impressive at all. But when you factor in that 90% of the My Hero Academia verse would struggle to destroy a building, that kind of puts in perspective just how powerful Deku is in proportion to his verse. And based off of the last percentage that we heard Deku using of One for All, he performed all of these feats with 45% of One for All or lower. Sure, when he was fighting against 9 in the second movie, he used 100%, but as we've seen, when you use controlled One for All versus the uncontrolled variant, it tends to be stronger, although being at a lower percentage. So technically that means that Deku hasn't even reached half power yet. Not to mention that as he grows older, his regular self without the help of One For All will grow stronger as well. Because you gotta remember, despite how powerful Deku is, he's still a teenager. He's like 16 or 17 years old in the manga. Once he becomes a full-grown adult, he is effortlessly going to be stronger than Prime All Might, and likely strong enough to solo his entire verse at their strongest. Finally, we move on to the last thing I want to talk about in this video. Deku's character development. As we saw in the beginning of the series and most of Season 1 and the beginning of Season 2, Deku was crying all the time. So much so that it became a meme. But now once you look at the current manga chapter, as well as the majority of the war arc, Deku has become an entirely different person. Not only is he significantly more confident than he was in the beginning, but now he wouldn't hesitate to take down a villain. Normally Deku would try to talk it out with a villain, to see if he can end things without having to go all out and seriously hurt them, but current Manga Deku completely decimated Muscular without giving him a chance to recover. This is the main reason why Deku is my favorite new gen MC. Mostly because he has realistic growth and doesn't start with some unrealistic overconfidence. In the beginning, he knew he was weak. And throughout the series, he constantly questioned whether he was the right choice to get such an incredible power like One For All. But as of now, Deku has completely gotten over those insecurities. Meanwhile, you got people like Goku and Asta, who despite being surrounded by people that are way out of their league, have extremely unrealistic expectations for their lives. Like Asta, how did he expect to become the Wizard King with just brute strength alone?